good evening. I'm fully festive Wotan.
Yeah, and it's Wogan, same as usual. Nothing weird, nothing different. What's up?
Yeah. Same old, same old.
It's have you noticed it's Christmas? Like, just in general, have you noticed like stores have Christmas shit now?
Really? that escaped my gaze.
Did it? Yeah. No, it's been like that for the last month over here. It's like every year it feels like they just bring it back like a week or two. So I'm convinced by like 2030 it's going to be perpetual Christmas. Like there's just always going to be stuff happening.
I would love that. I would genuinely love that. You know me at Christmas, okay? I'm a Christmas fanatic, so I would genuinely love that.
Yeah, no, Christmas is good. And it's also just, to be completely honest, I'm out of the loop. Like since the last episode we did, I've been like so just busy with work. It turns out going freelance and thinking that you're going to have more time over the holidays is not always pan out the way you want. Especially in marketing, it's like everyone's like, oh, by the way, we need stuff done and we want to wrap it up. My whole couple days has been wrapping shit up. And you?
Yeah, well, aside from fairly intensive discussion last week, I think I've mostly just been busy with admin and shit.
Yeah, it's the university stuff, right? Or something like that.
Yeah. I'll be careful enough not to mention which universities on the odd chance that this shows up in their application. In our application process, we noticed that you seem to be part of a show. Yeah.
No, and it's been a rough year for like this media stuff in general, right? Because a while ago now, I wrote a quick blog about Article 13. And like the whole Europe wants to kill memes and all that shit.
Please expand on that. And which side you're on?
So in a nutshell, Article 13 has been kind of marketed, sold, and argued as like Europe is going to make it impossible for anyone to create anything. They're going to kill the memes. They're going to kill like the movie reviews, and they're just going to kind of flatten the landscape. And this was like the apocalypse. And then you actually read Article 13. And like a lot of stuff...
I haven't read it.
I read through the latest version. So, for example, anyone who's like, Article 13 means they're going to filter everything before upload. That was like in the first draft version. They took that out in the most recent one. So now it's just like platforms have a responsibility to do it. But the principle of this is that as you... as a creator, or a creator of anything, you have a natural copyright to your work. It was established in the Berne Convention in 1886. If you put pen to paper, if you manifest something, the copyright belongs to you, and it means that you have some measure of control over how it's used. Article 13 is basically saying, okay, Facebook, YouTube, all the rest, you guys have got to respect copyright by the people that make stuff and upload it. And YouTube and them are like, no, this is going to damage creators, because in reality for the last 10 years it's been a wild west. So people have driven more revenue from infringing content than from like legitimate stuff. It's like all the memes that get copied to like other pages and then they go viral, and the people that made it don't get the attention or the feedback. So I'm actually
pro Article 13.
So what it boils down to is that Article 13 makes it difficult for platforms to infringe copyright. And the argument against it is, well, if we can't infringe copyright, then we can't create, which is utter bullshit. You can only do that's only a problem, if your creation is ripping off other people's shit. Then you do need a shield from copyright. If you're creating new stuff, you don't. So it's all bullshit, and I'm in favor of Article 13 because, like everything else Europe has done, it's pro-consumer, like GDPR. Like I'm quite a big fan of that as well. So that's like my position. I would not lose a moment's sleep if, like, all the copy-paste memes and people stealing shit from other pages, if that all went away and we were left with the people making actual content and putting actual effort in, I'm happy. So that's me.
If only we could get like an Article 13 for WhatsApp groups so that I don't have to see the same fucking meme within a single day copied across 16 different fucking groups that I'm in. And the worst part of it all is that I'm actually in a group with most of the people who post this meme across the group. So it's like, this meme, and I'm like, dude, you just posted this meme in the same group that all 5 of us are in 10 minutes ago in a different group. Like, we've all got the fucking meme.
Dude, I know, and this is the thing, right? Because the more people do that, that counts as engagement, right? It's sharing, it's commenting, it's linking. So the platforms are all like, cool, do more of this. Do as much of it as you want, because this helps our numbers. This helps us advertise. But in the meantime, the actual content is bullshit. It's mostly garbage. So I would lose no sleep over a rule that made this more difficult. So yeah, okay, I mean, that's where I am.
If you put it that way, it actually sounds fairly reasonable. Because I think I've seen at least like 20 YouTube videos from various content creators and commenters and all that saying how Article 13 is like the fucking legislation to end all legislation, and it's the death knell of creativity and all that shit.
Yeah, no, I've seen that, but also, and this occurred to me today, and if I ever write a follow-up, I'll mention this. You can't have both. You can't have an industry that's built on copyright infringement and rehashing the same shit over and over again, and then complain that Hollywood is running out of ideas, because the two are connected. If everything you do and all the metrics show that, you know, if people keep ripping off Avenger clips and like remixing them and shit, then it's like, oh, this is clearly popular, we should make more of it. When if people were encouraged to create new stuff and there was less risk involved, you would see more of it. Like another example that I don't mention in the article, but like you can just Google this, is fashion designers getting ripped off. It's a huge problem in the fashion world. Oh yeah. It's like, you know, like independent people who are like students will, you know, design some clothes and shit as part of their courses and put it online on like Pinterest or Instagram or whatever. And then large fashion houses will research by borrowing those wholesale and just manufacturing them. And the individual students have fuck all protection, because it's like, well, no, you know, copyright is like not really a thing on the internet. So again, like Article 13, if you have the copyright on a piece of intellectual property and, you know, you post it and someone tries to abuse it, you need recourse, because otherwise there's no point as a small creator putting a lot of effort into something if it's just going to get stolen. So I'd rather see more copyright, ironically enough, if such a thing could be believed.
This is going to be a bitch when one day we get a copyright strike.
But and here's the interesting thing, right? So copyright strike. If you look at everything we've done so far, what copyright have we infringed? Like if you just give it like a couple moments thought. Like especially like the last couple of episodes. I mean, what copyright did we actually infringe?
Well, not last week, but the week before last, there was questionable content there that, yeah, I mean, legally, you might be able to angle it as copyright infringement.
Yeah, it's like the America's Fair Use thing. I think still technically applies. And you know, dude, I mean, let's be honest. That if there was ever a video that wasn't going to be monetized, it's that one. So I think we're fine. I think we're not anticipating any revenue.
I take it personally. The week before last episode is probably some of our best work. So.
It was, but it's like, you know, the world doesn't always appreciate your creativity when it comes to these things. So I think we'll just have to kind of take that loss and move on. I mean, I certainly have no expectations. So, yeah. So I mean, like, yeah, that's like my main thing, other than just working my ass off. And what I'm also going to do, and it's kind of not really related directly to this channel, but I'm going to do like a master post on everything I've learned since going freelance. It's been hectic 8 months. And I'm going to publish that out. And I think actually like in the new year, I want to bring that up, because I'm kind of finding in South Africa in general, it helps to have a side hustle of some kind, especially now. But if you do that well enough, it could be a full-time thing. And having now kind of done that a bit, it's hard, but it's worth it. So I really want to actually, you know, let's try and get something useful into this channel at least once in the next 6 months. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I'm actually all in favor of that.
Ah, cool. Yeah, so update me on the memescape. Like, what's been happening on the internet lately? Because I don't know at all.
Oh, I think actually let's dangle some spicy political dates.
Oh god, let's do it.
Yes, last 48 hours, Donald Trump went full isolationist libertarian and said, "I'm pulling out of Syria, I'm pulling out of Afghanistan, pulling out of all that shit.
Oh my god! Just like what? Bring the troops home. Fuck off! Like that. Like literally, just like that. Like what was that? Oh my god!
Yeah, he's pulling out of Afghanistan. He's pulling out of Syria. I don't know where else. But like, it's interesting to see this now, right? Because like, you have like the neocon conservative Republicans. Neocon obviously meaning neoconservative, who are actually pro-war and pro-large government as long as it's their government. And then you've got the neo-libs, the neoliberals, certain sections of the Democratic Party who are also pro-war, actually, decide Democrats being anti-war and love and all that. And then you've got the actual fucking anti-war Republicans and the actual fucking anti-war Democrats. And then the fucking libertarian community are all going ballistic. They're like, yeah, it's happening. Finally, isolationism. It's happening.
Oh wow!
And then there's like 2 or 3 people I've seen like post. Because, obviously I'm quite libertarian myself. 2 or 3 posts that I've seen where it's like accounts that are supposedly very libertarian and all that. They're like, oh, I can't believe we're leaving Syria and all that. And I'm like, I'm not sure you know what libertarianism means. You're supposed to be anti-war.
So that's astonishing. So okay, I know that Trump has a tendency to just sort of say whatever's on his mind at that moment, like whenever he thinks about it. So okay, but like practically, I mean, so he just said this, and what? Like he wants to pull all the soldiers out, and that's kind of.
I'll tell you why I give weight to what he said is the fact that General James Mad Dog Mattis, who is like probably one of the most revered war heroes and like very revered. He's a Marine Corps general. He's actually like he's what I would call the epitome of sort of Western educated warrior priest type archetype general, because he's the kind of guy who on campaign would carry the writings of people like Marcus Aurelius and all that shit. So he's I mean, he's a badass in combat from what I've read from him, but he's a very educated man, and he resigned recently because he was very pro. And this is the only bad thing I'll ever say about Mattis. He said he was very pro staying in those areas. Yeah. And when Trump pulled out, he's like, okay, well then I quit. So if he's quit, then he must really perceive that as that's the Secretary of the Defense of the United States just resigned. Okay, and it's a terrible thing, because the thing about Mattis is, aside from being highly revered by all armed service people and the police and all that, he is one of the few people around Trump's sort of camp of yes men, whatever, who will tell Trump to get fucked and mean it and get away with it. He was an anchor of rationality on the Trump campaign. And I'm not saying either the Trump campaign is amazing or it's terrible. Either way, all I'm saying is that Mattis was the biggest anchor, one of the biggest anchors on rationality with the Trump thing. And it concerns me that he's resigned now, because now he's no longer going to have Mattis there to be like, dude, calm the fuck down, chill the fuck out. And I'm just trying to think back. There was a while ago that Trump tweeted something about, was it either there should be gays in the military or there shouldn't? There was something where he just kind of announced that, we're changing some kind of military policy, and then the military was like, no, we haven't received anything. We don't know what he's talking about. And like 2 weeks later, the story vanished. So it's like, okay, he was talking bullshit. But no, if like your lead general quits over something like this, and he's a talented military. Like, as soon as, I know the media hasn't paid much attention to stuff in Iraq and Afghanistan, but as soon as he became, head of CENTCOM, he became the Secretary of Defense. Yeah, he actually introduced changes that actually started giving the Americans the wins that they needed in all those clusterfucks. Yeah. So, yeah. But so if his brilliance, his military brilliance is gone, it's a massive loss for the Americans.
Yeah, and that's crazy, because for as long as I can remember, America has had a military presence in the Middle East, and they've never admitted it outright, but it had the coincidental side effect of securing all the oil drilling rights for their friends, And it's like, if Trump is like, no, fuck it, we're putting the plug, that's actually pretty huge. Damn.
I know normally they're like, people are just like, Trump just says shit, but legit this time it's yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, that might actually qualify as actual geopolitical news, and not just like Trump tweeted a thing and we're all upset, and then the whole internet. So that's actually that's news.
I think he should add savior of Twitter to his resume, because let's be honest, the engagement that drives every one of his tweets, either very for him or very against him. There's always like a super MAGA cult, and there's a super fuck Trump traitor Russia bot. I mean that's one of the reasons I follow him, is just to see the mix of fucking tweets of and I'm like, okay,
dude, that is it's like Twitter gets to hide behind the sort of the argument that he's the president of the United States. We can't kick him off the platform, but in truth, he is like the one account that is keeping Twitter relevant right now.
Also, I love that he occasionally uses his personal Donald Trump account. I mean, he uses the president of the US, the POTUS account, to retweet his at real Donald Trump. Have you seen that?
No, but I can believe it.
He actually uses the POTUS, the president of the US account, to retweet his Donald Trump account. He's like, this is beautiful. This is actually the best timeline to be alive in.
Yeah, no, look, definitely being out of the social vortex for a while means that, yes, I can fully appreciate like this, like I can like get this hit of like, oh, the world is crazy, and then move on and I'll get sucked into it. But no, like Trump, that is the thing. So, yeah, dude, the only social drama that I'm aware of, and this is going to sound really weak, I know, but this is so fucking basic, but just to prove that I'm a human being that reads the news. Did you see the Chris Chameleon thing?
Which Chris Chameleon? By the way, today's whiskey is I Need a Job, aka Harrier.
Yeah, so Harrier, please sponsor Whiskey Wotan so that he
can...
For
fuck's sakes! One of you companies just fucking sponsor my whiskey. What do I need to do? Fucking film a dead body in the forest? Right, shit on my neighbor's lawn?
I would like to formally retract my co-host's statement, because, dude, you just torpedoed any chance you have. Yeah, also, I'm pretty sure that, like, you can't be drunk on YouTube and be monetized. So thanks for killing any hope of this channel ever going commercial. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
There was some dumb Twitter drama, or Facebook drama actually, which is what happens in South Africa.
Wait, I saw him actually at the last Park Acoustics. I saw him in person.
Oh, cool.
He's much taller in person than I thought he is, actually.
Yeah, that is a relevant detail, I'm sure.
Sorry.
It's fine. But he implied that he was the illegitimate child of Bless Bridges on Facebook, and then that went viral. Really? Yes, really. He just, I didn't even know what the post was. I just saw the effect of it. And then it's like suddenly everyone's like ripping up because like Bless's ex-wife survived him or something. It's like everyone's like blowing up her phone. What the hell's going on? And like 2 days later, he's like, haha, JK, it was a social experiment. And I'm like, dude.
It's just a prank, bro.
Yeah, it's a shitty prank to be like, yeah, actually, this icon that like people still revere. No, he had an illegitimate kid and it's me. Haha, lol. No, dude, come on. That's just like,
It's just a prank, bro. I'm personally glad that those sort of channels have sort of died off on YouTube, by the way. It's just a prank, bro. Channel's like, fucking hell, dude.
It's, get some class. Like this channel where he swears at people that might actually sponsor him. Like that sort of thing. You know, that's what you want out of your content.
I would like to deeply apologize to Harrier Whiskey. I've had a very difficult emotional year, and last night I took some Ambien and it was and I tweeted and screamed some shit.
Yeah, you see, this is the redemption narrative arc. Like somehow Harriet got you back on track.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah, but like the big thing, and this is like the main thing that I want to get to, because I know for a fact you have an opinion on this. I do too, but I think mine's slightly more offbeat, is the Tumblr porn apocalypse. So, for those of you who don't know, Tumblr banned all porn. So, can you explain to us why this is a bad thing?
Because it would be like if Ferrari said, we're just going to sell pictures of cars and merchandise. We're just going to sell caps and branded fucking keychains. You fucking Ferrari, you sell cars, okay? It'd be like if Ford stopped making pickup trucks, the South would have no vehicle. If Ford and Chevy stopped making pickup trucks, the South would have no sort of vehicles to do their shit in. Tumblr is 90% porn. I would say even 95% porn. And when fucking College Humor even makes a skit about how dumb it is that you ban all porn, then
okay, that skit, by the way, is hilarious. I'll link it in the description. It's the guy that is like the CEO of various companies.
I love those CEOs. My personal favorite one was the CEO of Tide.
Yes, yes.
Fucking and like halfway through the skit, this guy, for those of you who don't know, obviously there's the whole Tide Pod saga, and they had a skit about that, and the CEO is like, check out our new dryer powder, and he starts mixing it up, and it's like, this is cotton candy, guys. How are people not going to eat this? Or he like makes like those push pop ice lollies in there, like that's a tampon. He's like, this is a fucking ice lolly, and they're like, it's poisonous. Why would you make a poisonous ice lolly tampon?
So yeah, so the skit, and I won't say too much because it's absolutely worth watching. But he's like this hilariously out of touch CEO who's like, "But I thought Tumblr was all safe for work. What do you mean?"
But he's doing social media tag BDSM.
Okay, it's like Buddy's doing special magic or whatever. Like it was like something completely different, and then he learns, "Oh my god, this is what it means." So anyway, I guess the arc of this is that Tumblr was a community site that came out years ago, and at some point Yahoo acquired them, and it was a bit odd because Tumblr had become something of I don't know how you call it, like amateur porn. Like there was a lot of people doing this kind of mature posting stuff.
It's either amateur porn or like really shitty slam poetry.
Or both. Or fan fiction. Fuck, dude, the fan fiction. Just like thousands of pages.
God. Please edit. Actually, if I had... that's what I'd do. If I had the Infinity Gauntlet, I'd snap away the shitty fan fiction.
You see, but hear me out. Article 13 would kill that because that is copyright infringement.
True.
So there we go. You see, Article 13 to the rescue already. All that cringy, like... Doctor Who meets Sherlock Holmes all that fucking shit,
or the
whatever.
Sonic and Knuckles fan fiction
where
Christ. Sonic gets Knuckles pregnant, and I'm like, what? How? That's not how biology works. Two different species can't.
Dude, don't even analyze it. Just don't. You'll be much happier if you don't.
It's like when I learned why you can't ride zebras.
It's okay. I have to ask.
That later.
I have to ask, why can't I ride zebras?
Well, you can try, but the reason we don't domesticate zebras, there's actually CGP Grey did a very good video on this, but it binds down to biology. Okay? Biologically, they're pretty close together. However, there's a certain key difference. Horses are gregarious because they're herd animals. Zebras are apparently gregarious because it's more like they're total assholes, and the only people that will hang out with them is other total assholes that look like them. For example, if you break the lead horse of a herd of horses, the lead mare or the lead stallion, the others will fall in line, and you can tame them easily. If you break a certain zebra, the others will be like, "Sucks to be you, bro," and then keep on going.
Okay. So like basically like a group of like bros, like a bunch of bros doing the club scene at night, and you just lose them along the way. Yeah. And that sounds horrible.
Zebras are not tameable, and it gets worse when you consider that we've been trying to tame them for many years now. And when we originally tried to tame them, obviously there were certain kicks and bites involved, and we didn't have antibiotics back then. So a zebra bite Whereas with horses, yeah, horses bite occasionally, but they're much easier to tame, and they will not fucking fuck you. So yeah, that's why zebras you can't ride.
Thanks for our brief tour into why the interspecies mating in fan fiction that is written by, shitty 12-year-old virgins mostly. I'm sure. I'm convinced. And it's like, so the thing about Tumblr is that it was kind of part of the early internet in a big way, and it represented a particular type of culture. And it got really fucking weird, and then they got acquired, and everyone was like, okay. And then Yahoo made very few changes. Like, they're just like, oh, now there's an 18+ mode and an NSFW mode and whatever, but we're not going to fiddle with it. And then like 2 weeks ago, they fiddled with it, and it's like just now exploded. Or imploded. What's the scientifically correct term for something just crashing? Because is there anything left on Tumblr? Yeah. Imploded. Okay. So is there anything left on Tumblr at all? I haven't checked. I don't know. Have you checked? Do you go to Tumblr, Wotan?
No, I haven't dyed my hair enough colors. Oh, by the way, I actually did cut my hair, hence the shiny baldness.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is that your sort of Breaking Bad summer look?
Yeah. I mean. I went to the black people psychologist, aka the barber. Black people don't go to psychologists; we go to our barbers and talk it out.
I'm pretty sure white people psychologists would be financial advisors then, because that's like if you go for investment advice, you start talking about your life plans and like where you want to go and all the rest. It's kind of like therapy, actually. So yeah, so the Tumblr porn apocalypse, which now kind of means that there are no mainstream sites where it's kind of it's weird. So I've got this general purpose issue with American run platforms in that they have a certain set of values on things that are and aren't permissible online, and eventually that makes its way kind of through the big corporates and the advertisers to the money, to the platforms that need the money, and then they have to make decisions like this, like the YouTube demonetization thing and this Tumblr thing now. And it's really fucking weird, just for like a lot of reasons. But America has a real problem with this stuff, and we've spoken about sex robots and that kind of thing at length. It's like America just seems to have this issue with it. And because they have an issue with it, and it's a global platform, now everybody around the world has lost something that was kind of fucked up, but also part of a lot of people's cultural identity. As cringy as that might sound. Look, I will total... what's the word? Total transparency. There was a point for about 3 months where I also wrote fan fiction, but in that fan fiction, nobody ever had sex. So I at least claim that I'm not that cringy, and I can claim that honestly.
Is that your way of starting the segue to the Noscript Show book that we're writing?
Please God, no. But and the thing that what happened in my case was there was a show I really liked, and I literally came in with I tried to write my own stuff, and then that turned into me just writing my own stuff anyway. And I never got trapped into that sort of trying to validate who I was as a person via my writing, which like a lot of these kids actually do. So it's just like, to me, it's weird to watch the fallout of this stuff. Because Twitter has the same thing. As time has moved, like the last 2 years, a lot of people have grown up on Twitter. Like it was one of the first apps they installed.
Yes. Time is kind of fucking up. Like 2 years now feels a lot quicker than 2 years when I was, like 20 years old. Like, yeah.
Dude,
not to date myself, but 2 years seems a lot quicker than 2 years when I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
I guarantee you time is shifting.
It is. But like think about this, right? I mean, Twitter is more than 10 years old. They had their 10-year anniversary like last year, I think, something like that.
World of Warcraft is 15 fucking years old.
Oh yeah, and it's these kind of things, right? So think about it. If you were a 13-year-old kid 10 years ago, and you got on Twitter and like you found a network, and this is like a big part of how you engage. 10 years later, you're 23. You're technically entering the workforce, trying to kind of figure out who you are in life, and a huge part of that is your Twitter interaction. Right? And now it's like they suddenly make a policy change where they start blocking accounts, going after sex workers. Like the thought audit memes. Yes.
Thought audit. Yes. Yes. The libertarian in me is like, fuck taxes. But the guy that in me that's had to deal with thoughts is like, fuck yeah, thought audit. Fuck yeah, thought audit.
Yeah, and it's just like, I mean, like it went away pretty quick. Like the meme died, and like we spoke about last week, it was actually quite surprising how quickly it died. But I'm pretty sure it's still going. Like there must still be people that are doing this, and it's just like we're kind of bored of the meme now. But it's because the Tumblr thing adds fuel to that fire. Because one impacted group, and this is kind of weird to me, but okay, are sex workers, people that just sell their bodies online. That's a thing. Welcome to the internet, guys. 2018. Like we're talking like
said,
real
I mean,
amateur.
like I said last week, I even tweeted about this. Is the best thing about Thought Audit is that it turned Bernie bros and Bernie girl fans into total sort of Ayn Rand libertarian and capitalists who are like fuck taxes. Suddenly, oh, now you care about being taxed. Now you care about this. And I saw like even some really big like cosplay accounts. I won't mention her name online, but some really big cosplay accounts. She didn't get audited, and I've actually been in a live stream and chatted to her a bit, but like I spoke to her like, you know, just a couple of chats every now and then, and she was like, no, if you really cared about financial thing, I'm like, last week you were all down for this. I feel like suddenly you're just a little bit scared. A little bit scared.
Little bit. Yeah, and it's amazing. It's like we're all kind of figuring out together what our values are and how we're actually doing this, because it's shitty to snitch, like in general, and I do like that America kind of has a no snitching rule, just in general. You don't snitch. Exactly. I can respect that. But it's interesting.
I went to boarding school. You snitch, you're dead, bruh.
What's it? Snitches get stitches, I think, is the official.
It's called a sock party. It's actually really fun in boarding school. Sock party.
I don't know if we want to. I mean, we've already fucked up with you swearing at your potential sponsor. So, do you really want to go into like a weird boarding school sex thing right now?
That's a fair point. I can only fuck up my future so much.
I feel bad for like any of the people I work with who know me as like an extremely sober and capable professional consultant who finds this video. Just FYI, anyone, I don't even know what to say. I have no excuse. This is how we vent Steam, I guess.
And speaking of Steam, I do have a Steam account if any of you want to join us. Any of you on our Discord, the Discord is still open, and our Steam accounts are open. So.
Oh yeah, dude, Steam, dude, I haven't touched. I think I bought a game, The Witness, because it was like 75% off, and that's like the only game I bought in like the last 6 months. I recently played through Hitman Absolution again, which is all single player all the way through. I've been doing badly on the gaming lately. I mean, have you actually been keeping up your Overwatch stats?
I have. Despite the fact that Blizzard is dead set on fucking nerfing all my mains. No, actually, this is my personal bias coming through.
Oh yeah.
It's okay to be spiteful and bitter and shitty to large corporations because they're faithless and have no feelings. But fuck you, Blizzard. I hope that your mothers stop loving you.
That's kind of harsh.
No, I genuinely hope that, because the amount of fucking nerfs you have added to Mercy as a character, who is one of the best fucking healers in the game, and you've just nerfed her again and again and again and again. Oh, but she can resurrect characters. I'm like, oh really? So that justifies every single nerf. She's a 200 health character who can get one-shotted by at least half of the offense characters in the game. How much harder does it have to be for me to be a medic in this game? Like, I don't understand.
Dude, no, I totally feel you, because like I had the same problem with StarCraft. StarCraft 2, I pre-ordered, and I was so stoked when it launched. Me and a bunch of guys bought it sort of on launch day, literally the day it activated, we were playing. And then they started balancing the game based on the results of online matches and their telemetry and analysis. and they repeatedly nerfed the Void Ray on the Protoss, and that just like killed the game for me, because my favorite tactic of all time was just like start the game, play normally, and then just start building Void Rays and hiding them somewhere else on the map until you have like 10, and then you just send them into a base and you start shooting. Because in the first iteration of them, they would fire, and like every 5 seconds the beam would double in power and then double again or something like that. Like it would get really powerful, so you could just steamroll the base. And I thought it was totally fair because they were shit against anti-air units, and I'm like, okay, no, this is cool. Let's just use this, and this is like the kind of the main unit. And then they nerfed it all the way down because people couldn't play against it, like on the whole. So that's why they changed it. And I think it's the same thing with Overwatch. Like people just can't kill Mercy, so for the sake of the mob,
she's a fucking medic. They're nerfing her because she's too useful as a character. Really?
I know, I feel your pain, and it's like for the sake of these masses of players that can't get good at the game, they now have to make it bad for everyone. Like I would sooner play a game that was balanced entirely on like professionals and career players and like 100 hours plus minimum battling it out, because they're the ones with good tactics, and I'd rather have a game balanced for that gameplay versus just like the casuals. Is that what they're called? The people that just drop credit cards on games and fuck it up. Like,
filthy casuals, unhand me, you filthy casual.
But dude, it's a huge problem, because like the same thing is driving the loot boxes or microtransactions, because it's like people they have money but no time, so they just want to pay their way through games, and game companies are only too happy to provide, and now you end up with Fallout 76. You know,
aka the death of one of my favorite fucking gaming series. It's genuinely painful to me. Like really, it is. Like because I loved Fallout as a series because it was obviously fun, but there were so many elements to it. It's the story of mankind crawling from the ashes of nuclear fire, which obviously we created ourselves, but it exposes so much about human psychology between, you know, sort of the Enclave, the old government, and fucking raider groups that spring up, and fucking settlements. It exposes it's if you look at it as more than a game, and I know I'm getting weirdly hipster profound, but like if you look at it as more than a game, it's like you see like the psychology of the choices people make, how society evolves after what is effectively a mass reset. And you have two groups of people: the people that survived the reset and the people that never had to deal with the reset because they were in the bunkers, in the vaults. Well, some of them had you know, vault experiments done on them, but you know what I mean. And it's so interesting to me psychologically, because it tells me so much about human thought process, about what we do when the world is gone, because the world is fucking gone. Everything about it is. And one of the biggest factors in it, I would say, is the ghouls from Fallout. Ghouls in Fallout are people who got fucking irradiated, for those of you who don't know, and have super long lives. And many of the ghouls, or a significant number of them, lived in the world of us now, basically, because actually the Fallout timeline starts right about now, according to the law, because you know, energy and oil starts running out, and the EU dissolves, and America invades us, in China, America war, etc., etc. But the ghouls are the most interesting factor because they are a living relic of the world before, and many people hate them because they represent the people who fucked up the world to the point that we now have the world that we have. And I feel sorry for them because they knew the world before, and now they have to live in this fucking world.
And the thing is, like, that whole thing, it's not hipster profound. It's games as art. I mean, like, the whole point is that games aren't just things you stick credit cards into. They're experiences. They're meant to be interesting at the very least, and, you know, maybe teach you something. So, like for me, it's a perpetual like nightmare that you've got like EA, you know, who's just like, oh, we're gonna like just jack up returns on games by putting pay to win into everything. And it kills all incentive. Like, for me, Command & Conquer 4, that was the thing that killed Command & Conquer for me, because that was where they're like, oh, we got to do the esports thing. So let's look at how esports works. And like, oh, there's Dota, and that's pretty popular. And there you just train units. Okay, let's just remove all the baseball, all the tech trees, everything that made Command and Conquer, like we had to make decisions about resources or what to build. Let's just throw all that shit away. There's one resource, and you just build units, and that's the game. It was boring as fuck. So I hear you. It sucks when these big companies just they make this play and then it kind of falls apart. So
it does this. Yeah, like you said, it does destroy. And I think for a lot of sort of the gaming and sort of anime fan communities, in all these fan communities, games, even certain animes, mangas, movies, like it is a cultural moment for you. Like you know, like for example, for me, I know it gets overhyped a lot, but the Ghost in the Shell as an anime.
Oh, dude, yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful. And I know I'm AI oriented, but it's beautiful. It is beautiful.
But also that show is just like everything that, like, dude, it was fucking perfect. It was humans and machines and networks and the way society changes. And you had these awesome cyborgs, and you had Tachikomas who started becoming self-aware, and you had, especially the second season, with like the guy that just manipulated the whole playing field to try and create a hero because he felt like he wanted to be the guy behind the scenes. All that shit, dude. Fucking everything about it was perfect. I hope they never... You see, the thing is, I was about to say, I hope they never Americanize it, and then I realized they did. But
it went under the carpet. It's okay.
Exactly, but it's like that's how little I give a fuck, because I don't even remember that it happened. So I am fine. No, dude, that was seriously, it was like one of the formative sort of animes that I watched, because what they explored, and the funny thing is, it's actually deviates from the manga quite a lot in that respect, but they explored humans plus technology and how, it shapes the way things operate and the things people do. And that opened my mind up to like a whole other range of possibilities. So it's like that, and the thing is, that is good fucking content. That is like the prime shit. Oh yeah.
I mean, one of the most poignant, was it the manga or the anime? I can't remember which. But basically, the Major, she asked the question: if a machine could generate a ghost, a soul, and have dreams and hopes like a human, then what would the point of being human be?
Yeah.
And that question still haunts me today. I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
If a machine, like a machine construct of me, like that looks just like me, has hopes, dreams, everything.
Yeah.
What's the point of my flesh and bone?
Yeah.
I'm just like, fuck.
Yeah. So I mean, like, anyone who doesn't know Ghost in the Shell, you're wrong. You're a bad person for not knowing. No. Okay, so let me put it to you like this. There's 3 movies, 2 seasons, and then there's one called Arise. Don't watch that, it's garbage. It's like the Scarlett Johansson of the anime, so just don't watch it. So you got the...
That's still a hit, though. She's kind of hot.
Yeah.
Even though she has a voice deeper than mine.
That is profoundly disturbing.
Insecurity, like, creeping in. Like,
yeah, no, dude, seriously. But the thing with, what was I going for? Is Arise, like in the first 20 minutes, there was like a Microsoft product placement where she was plugged into a Microsoft Surface tablet, and I was like, fuck you and everything else, and I just deleted it. Like, I'm not even going to watch. So that's fucking over. But anyway, so like the canonical backstory in the anime is that she was in like a fatal plane crash, and literally all that survived was basically her brain and a bit of her brainstem. So she was one of the first full cyberized people that had to learn from scratch how to exist in a body that wasn't her own. And that already is like such a profound idea to just think through that. And then every now and then it kind of comes through in the stuff that she does. Like by the end of the first movie, there's a point where she actually merges and changes permanently with Project 2501. This completely artificial construct that manages to kind of trap her. And then the person that comes out of that is neither, is different. And it asks so many questions about what is the nature of individuality? Who are you really? All that shit. I'm like, that is what the sort of stuff that I think more people should see, frankly. And that's my favorite stuff, for sure.
It's awesome. And obviously, I mean, with my AI slant, it's obviously something that's very pertinent to me. Like, I think about it often. Like, if I set up thought experience, I'm like, if something I created asked me a question I couldn't answer, it's a weird situation. I'm like, what would I tell you? It's like my creation, like, it's a very, we're on the cusp. Oh, speaking of profound stuff, and gaming and anime,
yes,
just gonna backtrack a second. Tom Clancy's The Division.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of it, but it takes place in New York City.
Yep. So I know. I saw a trailer. It's basically like it's a secret team of people activated when the world ends to restore order, something like that.
Basically, yeah. What happens is they have this plague around Christmas time-ish, around now-ish, and they call it, what is it, green plague or dollar plague? But anyway, it's a super anthrax type thing, and it takes place in New York City. And the reason it's poignant is because they mapped out New York City, subways, sewers, all that shit. They mapped it out with a frightening degree of accuracy.
Okay.
And I played this game just to, I mean, I was there last year, this time right now I was there. And I played this game for about a year and a half before I went back to New York.
Yeah.
And one of the missions, I mean, my aunt lives in Manhattan, and she lectures at NYU. My aunt lives in Manhattan, and one of the missions takes place in a location that is where she actually lives.
Holy shit.
So, like, I played this game, and then I remember going to her apartment as a kid, and then I played this game, went there, I'm like, it looks like her apartment. And then I went there last year, I'm like, I played this mission here, this park here, this area of Manhattan, I was here. And even as I was walking the streets of New York, like Manhattan, Brooklyn, all that, all these Bronx, all that, I'm like, I've been here in a video game, except I had, a submachine gun and a sniper rifle, and there were a lot fewer people. I'm like, shit. That's why I didn't, and that's like my aunt's like, why don't you need a tourist map so much? I'm like, my brother and I kind of played this a lot. She's like, what? Don't worry about it.
And just
simulator.
So just FYI to everyone who's just sort of waking up now and has been in a coma for like the last 20 years. The human brain doesn't distinguish between educational and informational content. It's all just data. So shit you play and interact with teaches you just as much and affects you just as much as stuff you learn in school. Like there's no switch that goes, this is important, must know, and this is not important, must not know. So there's like a couple stories like every year. I think my favorite was like 2 or 3 years ago. There was some kid who saved his little sister somewhere in Sweden who was able to like distract a bear or something and run away because it was a skill that he learned in Skyrim or something crazy like that. And it's like everything you take in, it sits there and you learn. This is how you learn. So I'm like, again, like games aren't just, for the playing, or again, EA, if it's not for the fucking credit cards, dude. Seriously, get your act together.
EA are like the vampires of
oh my god,
games. They just suck life out of every video game.
It's like seriously, they are the oppressors, like in every way. They are destroying a medium I love for money. Fuck them. But the whole thing is like, games are more than that, and it's a fully immersive interactive experience, way more than book learning in a classroom. So
100% way more.
Yeah. So like, I am not surprised that you play a game that's like photorealistic New York, and then you go there and it's like deja vu. No, I get
exactly.
That, yeah.
Like I'm just like walking out, like the playground near her apartment. I'm like, I had to pick up a package here. Like I had to gun some guys down. Like this feels, and I actually felt discomfort / familiarity, and I'm like, I've been here.
There's like a little meme clip from somewhere. It's quite funny. There's two guys playing like Xbox or something. It's like a Middle Eastern man and an American, and they're playing like Call of Duty or whatever. And then the Middle Eastern guy is like, no, run there, turn left. And the American's like, how do you know? He's like, no, I grew up there. And it's like, yeah, no, it's a thing. It's a thing. Dude, So anyway, games. Is there anything good worth playing, like, lately? I haven't checked Steam. When is the holiday sale? It should be on now, right? Like, it's Christmas time, so...
Do you know what the holiday sale is? The holiday sale on Steam is like the BDSM to your wallet. Steam sale, like it kicks down the door with a whip and a dominatrix, like Sue's like, it's Steam sale now. I'm like, no, Steam, no. Buy games.
my absolute favorite. It was like the second Steam sale, like this little clip came out. There's this dude who kind of falls over and his wallet flies out of his pocket and magnetizes to his computer. And then like the emails come up, your purchase on the Steam store. It's like, no! I can honestly say, having been through like 6 of these, I don't spend that much anymore. But I need a break at some point. So what would you recommend games-wise, seeing as we're so profound on the games now?
Games, well, oddly enough, I'm mostly playing console games at the moment. Smash Ultimate, fucking
Nice.
Octopath Traveler. Steam right now. I'd actually say Far Cry 5.
Really?
Even though the hype has died down for it a bit. It's fun.
I would actually want to revisit a game that I think got a bad launch, No Man's Sky, because I don't know if you were paying attention when they
Don't
came
believe
out.
Monix's lies. Peter Molyneux. Molyneux's lies.
So, but I saw that like it was basically a thing where Sony like hyped up the game to like unrealistic standards, and then they launched the first version, and it was kind of shit. And people were like, "Oh, you played us all," and it's like they've just quietly kept updating since then. So, like, apparently, it's a lot better now than it was at launch. I haven't tried it. So, have you seen anything about it? I might just pick it up.
I haven't, but I think the hype around getting to the whole center of the galaxy thing is surprisingly tempting.
Oh, dude, you see, okay, already the fact that you said that wasn't a thing at launch. It was literally just, it's procedure generated, explore as much as you want.
Oh, it's just procedure. Oh, okay, cool.
It was literally like Minecraft with no limits, and you just jump planet to planet, and that was the whole thing. So now there's a center of the galaxy there's actually an objective to get to. Is that like a new thing now? Okay.
Whiskey is good. Better than brandy. But there was a video, I think I posted this in last week's episode actually, where somebody got to the center of the universe, the center of the galaxy, and it was just like a big fucking letdown. I won't spoil why it's a letdown, but you can Google it if you want, anyone watching this video, but it's a bit of a letdown to the center of the galaxy.
I'm not surprised. It's like Half-Life 3. Like, no matter how good it is, it's never going to live up to expectations, so it's fine. Like, it's just never going to happen, and that's cool. Although, did you see, I think it was the writer Mark Laidlaw, earlier this year, was it still this year, that the story, he actually put it up on GitHub, like it just automatically released after some kind of lockout. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
Oh.
I mean, I know who Mark Laidlaw is, but yeah, I didn't hear about this. Okay, cool.
Oh, no, you can look it up. So basically what happened was, when they started working on Half-Life 3, he wrote out, it's kind of like a short story that just kind of summarizes what would happen. And apparently the agreement... Yeah, and the agreement they had was, if the game isn't produced by in the next 5 years or something crazy, then he gets the right to publish that story. And so he did, and that came out at some point. And the story, it reads like exactly Half-Life. It's exactly the kind of thing that it would be. But between that and like the concept art and like one of the like kind of iffy demo things, that's all we're ever going to see of the Half-Life 3 project. So I'm having to come to terms with the fact that we may never get Half-Life 3, and this is like this might make me start drinking again. So the next big disappointment.
Drinking is my thing, okay? I'm the Rick. I am the alcoholic. I am the Rick of this show.
Okay. You're the old grumpy scientist. That's exactly who you are. So yes, you are the Rick. I will defer to you.
Scientists are like, minus the constant burping, but yes, I am the Rick. Like he's really brilliant when he's sober.
Yeah, although like what was that one episode where it's like they ripped off the Avengers and he gets blackout drunk? Yes,
Vindicated. It was amazing. It was amazing.
It's like you just So okay, so FYI, if
that's
you
exactly
haven't,
how I'd be if I was in the Avengers. That's who I'd be if I.
You'd be the irascible drunk. So Rick and Morty is amazing. Adult Swim ordered another 100 episodes, I think. So we're going to see more of it. Yes.
I just found a reason not to give my Smith and Wesson a blowjob.
Welcome to the dark humor portion of the show.
Well, I
But
watched
yes.
Hidalgo the other day, and he said, God didn't make all men equal. Mr. Colt did. I slightly disagree. God didn't make all men equal. Mr. Smith and Wesson made all men equal.
Yeah, so like the whole libertarian gun argument, sure. There's that. But also, just if you haven't seen Rick and Morty yet, do yourself a favor and watch it. It's amazing. And
Ignore
you're
the fan
definitely-
base, though. They're fucking shit.
It's actually, okay, the one thing that I want, there's actually something I want to do for the last couple of minutes. But the last thing I want to say about this, my favorite part, is that Rick is such a misanthrope. You know, like, he hates people, he thinks they're shit, like crowds, he's like individualist, like hardcore, which I think is why we both like him. But there was the Szechuan sauce thing, and that was like the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. So if you don't know what the Szechuan sauce thing is, there was like season 2, episode 1, he made a big deal about this limited edition McDonald's sauce that was part of a promotional campaign in the real world. And then that became such a meme that there were people that were queuing at McDonald's demanding that sauce, which is exactly what Rick wouldn't want them to do. Because, you know, it's like being a mob and going after a dumb thing is exactly what he hates about humanity. So the fact that the fan base did that was like, you're all dumbasses. This is not what Rick is about. So, cool. Good job. Anyway, so like the last thing I want to do, because it's like end of the year, I don't think we're going to do another episode this side of 2019 because it's like Christmas and it's New Year.
Yeah, exactly. This is why this is the extended Christmas episode. It's the it's the very long Christmas episode.
Yeah, by long it's like hour 15 minutes. Because I can only, I think Wotan can only hold his whiskey for so long before he starts getting all preachy. So we need to kind of keep to time, right there. No, but what I want to do actually is, so just talking about South Africa. Where do you think, because the election is next year, right? And this is going to be like the big meme and everyone's like ramping up. I've seen DA ads everywhere. So 2019 election predictions and where the country is heading. Would you care to speculate, sir, on where you think South Africa is going in 2019?
That is a terribly huge assumption to make. Because when you make that speculation, you're setting yourself up for incredible levels of
being wrong.
Of being wrong. So,
which is why, and no, but here's the thing. So being an absolutely impossible ask, right? It's just kind of like I want us to like put some things down now so that we can look at it at the end of next year and just see how far off we were. I think that's the only reason. I'm not expecting us to actually have anything profound or accurate to say. So what do you think? Like land expropriation, right? Do you think that's going to go ahead?
You know, Conscious Caracal did a video of this a while ago, and he pointed out something very poignant about it, is that land expropriation is generally the last-ditch effort of a liberation party that has come into power and is losing its grips on power, and this is its last-ditch effort. Because if you look at it, the same thing happened in Zim and many other African countries. Liberators are seldom good empire builders. That's how the saying goes. Liberators are seldom good empire builders.
Yeah.
So land expropriation for the ANC is a last-ditch survival effort. Land expropriation for the EFF is a massive fucking... That's their main fucking master sale thing. Yeah. And now I'm gonna get real for a moment. Whiskey jokes aside. You know, obviously as a black South African, I find few things as insulting as the concept of land expropriation. And here's why. Because it basically implies that black people are still so backwards in their thinking that we are still an agrarian society. You know for a fact the biggest companies in the world, fucking Uber, Bitcoin, who else? Fucking these huge supply, fucking Uber Eats, Bitcoin again, because I'm really hurt about Bitcoin's drop.
We are all hurt, yeah.
well, we'll chat about our sponsor in a minute. But all these things, Alibaba, Airbnb, do any of these companies own a fucking shred of land? No. They don't. So why the fuck do you dangle land like some fucking proverbial carrot to black people? It's insulting to me. I genuinely find it insulting because you're implying that me as a black person in South Africa, I'm so backwards in my thinking that I think land is the be-all and end-all of all shit. Newsflash, guys, technology has progressed to the point, and automation has progressed to the point that farming, having land, all that shit is not that fucking profitable anymore. You don't need to employ tons of people anymore. It's a stupid thing. It's a sucker's bet. That's the gambling term I wanted. It's a sucker's bet. That being a farmer, and black people still, I want my farm because the farmer has a farm and he's rich. The farmer has a farm and he's rich because he's had that farm for years and years and years. Do you know how long it takes for a single fucking olive sprout and let's take olives because they're pretty quick to start bearing fruit. Do you know how long it takes an olive to start bearing fruit?
I lost that check. It's a good couple of years, like 10 or 20 or something crazy like this.
Several years.
Yep.
An olive tree just to mature to the point it starts bearing fruit. Go into fucking Soshanguve. Go into fucking Naturalville. Ask any black person there, would you plant an olive tree? Yes. Why? Because it has fruit and it's olive oil and olives for pizza and all that. Okay, do you know how long it takes? No. And I'm not insulting my own people. I'm just saying they don't know how long it takes to do. So and they're locked to that concept.
So, and the thing is, like, obviously there's a lot there because you've got... Okay, let me start with this. The reason I kind of bring this up as the first thing is that there's a draft bill that actually has the wording now of what they're going to put into the law for expropriation. And they're targeted things like abandoned land, which kind of makes sense. Land owned by state-owned enterprises makes total sense. Land that has been predominantly worked by people that are kind of living on it, which is like a little bit complicated. And it seems kind of reasonable, but this is all thin end of the wedge shit, because if this doesn't work, and it won't work for a whole bunch of reasons, then they have to broaden that out next year, and the year after that, and this is like the kind of the descent down into madness. But to a large extent, South Africa, like big picture stuff, South Africa is kind of in trouble economically, right? And so you've got this... anything that can be done to be productive is going to be of a net benefit. And if that involves having more land closer to cities so that people can get to jobs, that kind of thing helps. And I'm all for that. And I know for a fact that state-owned enterprises in particular make this quite difficult. So you need some reform. There has to be some reform, but just giving people land to build farms, I mean, that was Zuma's thing as well. Like he said, his dream was that everyone owned a farm and worked the land. And it's like, dude, what century are you from? Like, even if you have that, you still need big investment technology, modern fertilizers, modern equipment to make a farm that can meet the export standards, which is the whole other thing, dude. There's like a universe of bullshit when it comes to exporting to other countries, because they don't just take anything. They require certain amounts of water, and the fruit has to be a certain size and a certain class. And to produce that, you can't just stick a seed in the ground and hope for the best. It takes a lot of planning and effort and time. So just land for farming and then problem solved, that's a huge lie. So, I mean, from an economic point of view, that's the way I see it. Like, you do need reform, but the reform that they're promising is just mostly bullshit. Anyway, so where I think it's going, I think that we're going to end up with, like, there'll be the elections, and then like a month after that they're going to start tabling all the bills and stuff to try and push that through, depending on how the elections turn out. So I think everyone's just like gathering ammo right now and preparing for like the post 2019 world, for which it's interesting. Ipsos and all the rest have been doing their polls, and it seems like it's just the numbers keep changing. Like, I don't know if anyone really knows what to expect. So I think other than maybe the ANC losing their grip a little bit further, I guess we can only hope. Election results. Do you reckon the EFF will reach, I think they're targeting like 3 million votes. They got 1.5 million. They want to double their vote share this year. Do you think that's likely based on what you know?
I'm gonna take the long shot bet here and say no, and here's why.
That's not very long. Yeah.
There's a hell of a lot of parties. People are in their predictions or discounting. There's a lot of parties that are going to form just before 2019, and people who hold strong convictions, who happen to be sort of EFF or ANC or even DA members, are going to sort of bleed out into these other parties that are going to form.
Yeah.
That's my prediction. It seems wacky because I know we're used to sort of the ANC versus DA paradigm, but I think there's a lot of parties that will form or just before the election, and a lot of people who strongly believe in certain convictions will join those parties or form those parties, and that's going to hemorrhage a shitload of votes. I think, yes, the parties in general, I think the EFF will in general gain some votes, not as many as they think they will. I think the ANC will definitely hemorrhage votes like crazy.
Yeah.
I think the DA, who's subliminally expecting to gain votes, is going to sort of hemorrhage votes.
Yeah. No, I just on the DA, I have to say yes, because they've managed to completely fuck up the management of their stronghold city, Cape Town. Like, just in every conceivable way, they've somehow managed to take the most politically deaf approach to dealing with things. The Patricia de Lille thing was just incredible, and I mean that in a bad way. The way the DA, it's ANC levels of incompetence, right? Because they wanted to get rid of her, but they did it so badly that they actually just kept scoring own goal after own goal, to the point where now she's got her own party, right? For good or something like that. She's going to get support, I'm convinced. And yeah, dude, everyone who wants South Africa, like the Western Cape, to start breaking away, I'm pretty sure there's going to be like a secessionist party or two. I've already seen like a few coalitions popping up.
Oh, of course.
And all the rest. Yeah, so it's, and for me, like the big thing is that on the long scale of history, you know, South Africa was 4 colonies under British rule that then amalgamated, and then there was an independence, and there was a post-colonial government, and then there was a liberation where it was handed over to the ANC. But at no point were the people of South Africa like responsible for forming their own government. I mean, that was a thing that was introduced, and like the system was put in place, and then people participate in the system. But after 20 years, they're not seeing any good results. It's very different from like the US, where people showed up and they had different ideas and moved to different areas and formed different states. That is a much better way to build a country than South Africa was. So I think just the point is that where it used to be politics was like winner takes all, you know, like national or nothing. That was like the election results, 94, 98, like all the way through to like when the DA took the Western Cape. It was always like just monolithic ANC. But I think as we go forward, it's going to become a lot more local. People are going to be like, no, this situation here is fucked up. I'm voting for the people here. Exactly. Balkanization, that is actually true. Breaking into smaller, regionally defined hostile groups. I mean, that is pretty much what we're going to deal with. So the thing is...
I mean, the Highveld hates the Cape. I still love you. No homo, I still love you.
It's fine. None of you guys can breathe in Joburg from all the rubber smoke, so it's cool. Cape Town at least will still have air quality.
I don't live in Joburg. I live in Pretoria, damn it.
That's exactly how I feel about your Highveld comment. Oh, is it?
Also, can we discuss how fucking pathetic the whole no homo thing is as a meme? How insecure you have to be to do...
Yeah, we can. No, it's just... I just want to say, you know, this whole Cape versus Joburg thing, I mean... I know we got it...
Pretoria is not included in this. We are we are the great city-state of Pretoria. We do not care about this. We are on our own, and we don't care about your bullshit. we don't care about the Joburg Cape Town war. Just don't cross our borders and we're fine. Unless you want some brunners, and then that's fine. Or some Biltong.
Well, yeah, so clearly you are sort of jonesing for the independent nation of Pretoria. To be like city state.
No. I want Pretoria to be amalgamated into Botswana. That's the one piece. The Northwest Province. Give Botswana the Northwest Province and Pretoria, and then I'm happy. Nothing more than that. Just like that. That's the empire.
And dude, and this is like the whole point, right? Because if you look at like a demographic map of South Africa, that's
where many Tswana people are. The closer you get to the northwest, is the more I guess. For maybe the one international person who watches this, is that we have like 12 tribes here, and myself being Tswana, we have our own country. You know what the irony of Botswana is that there's roughly 2 to 3.5 million Tswana people in Botswana.
Yeah.
And it's a massive piece of land. It's massive piece of land. There's like 6 million Tswana people in South Africa. There's double the amount of Tswana people in South Africa than there are in actual Botswana.
And that's like the result of the British drawing territorial lines like it did in the Middle East. They're like, this is South Africa.
South Africa is more arable. It's a massive desert, dustpans and shit. That's why our population density is growing much slower, and also we're just sort of more, I guess, culture. I'm not going to include every great tribe of the Tswana people in this statement, but we're culturally more austere people. I don't know if people watch this, but there's a stereotype of black people in South Africa that they tend to have large families, but Tswana people, we don't actually have massive families. We don't. We're
ironically enough,
3, 4, maybe 5 at most kids in a generation.
So what's interesting about that is that the Afrikaans and the Zulu have more in common than the Afrikaans and the British. Like, on just everything. Family size is one of the things. Afrikaans traditionally, they have large families, lots of kids. British traditionally don't.
Botswana, well, I mean, the president of Botswana that just retired now is Ian Khama, who is the son of Seretse Khama, who married Ruth Williams Gainsbourg, who was a proper British lady.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
so I guess Bots is the first country to have a colored president after his dad was president, so yeah.
Yeah, no, so, and this is the thing, right, because South Africa is actually, it's so many different cultures and languages and traditions, and it's like, we've got this
and
weird...
And certain of them are close to each other. Some of them are close in their values, are close enough together that they can get along, no problem.
Yeah, exactly, and so the thing is, if South Africa, like, if the lines were redrawn, and we said, okay, like based on where people actually live, we're going to form, like we're going to devolve power, give it back to like the provinces. That would reflect more fairly on the way South Africa should work. Instead of because the ANC did the absolute level based to centralize and maintain power in one place, kind of following on from how the NP government did it. But the provinces and the colonies, those were better structures because the people in them had more autonomy in the way that they lived. So I think, I would hope that eventually politics gets to a point where it's like, okay, the local party, municipal and kind of ward level is more important than who is the president. Because right now the president has far too much power, is capable of doing far too much damage, and the only way to mitigate that is to devolve the power, to move it back down the levels to the people actually on the ground, buying the property, paying the taxes, and casting the votes. So I would kind of hope that that's where we end up in this election. But then again, it could take 100 fucking years because this is Africa. All right, so there's that. Land expropriation, I suspect we'll see that next Christmas, along with like 1 rand. What's it like? The rand dollar will be like 20 to 1 at least, because why do we need a functional currency? I'm trying to think.
Get an offshore savings account as an investment. Get an offshore savings account.
Dude.
My advice.
Dude, savings, my God. Okay, so since going freelance, I, for the whole time that I worked, and this is I kind of lucked out on this. When I started working, I knew fuck all about this. And when I joined the company, they were actually one of the better companies because they were like, you really should have a provident fund. And I was like, okay, it's whatever. It's the default. I'll take it. And since then, I learned there's a lot of companies in South Africa that like don't do what I consider the basics, provenance and medical. That's like an absolute basic, but there are some companies that just don't do that. And then I eventually learned about the savings and all the rest. But like the last couple of years on the JSE have been brutal, absolutely brutal. It's been growing on average slower than inflation, I think, like the last 2 or 3 years. So in terms of saving, yeah, offshore. You absolutely want offshore right now, because where South Africa's economy goes in the next 10 years, I can talk for length at how I have very little hope for the situation righting itself in general. So yeah, offshore your money if you can. Take full advantage. It's like, I don't know if it's Regulation 28 or not, but whatever percentage you can move out.
Actually, I do know.
You do know.
Because my master's dissertation was on... shit, I'm actually not legally allowed to say the full title. Welcome to the world of academia. You're not legally allowed to say or do certain things. You sign like a whole contract. I will not do X, Y, and Z. Yeah. But it involved... I'm trying to figure out how to generalize this. Okay, yeah, I know. It involved investments into retirement annuities. Mm-hmm. It involved a certain amount of automatic decision makings by non-human agents. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so I had to read up a great deal on financial law in South Africa.
Yep, yep.
Although I do come from that sort of stock of lawyers and account. Oh, can we do maybe also, because I saw a while ago there was the whole fucking race IQ shit.
No, do we have to, like, again?
No, we can just say how stupid it is.
Yes, okay. Guys, it's stupid.
We discussed it last week, but we should comment on how stupid it is again. But, yeah, okay, so my dissertation, I'm quite well-versed with Regulation 28. And basically, surprisingly, South Africa's law around that is pretty airtight. It's well-designed. Like, whoever wrote that law, fucking smart people. Making sure you don't do dumb shit, like, legally. Like, you only invest so much.
And also, like, the whole, there was Tea Day, like 2 years ago, where they changed, because what I remember was there was a thing where they wanted to prevent people from cashing out their entire pension and just spending it. So they put a law in that you can only cash out a certain amount and the rest has to buy some kind of investment. And the unions took up arms because, you know, like, this is our money and we saved it. And it's like, okay, dude, you're dumbasses. If you withdraw everything at retirement and spend it, then what? You know, what do you do then? And the unions managed to actually shut that down. So the thing is, and I also, like, our laws are actually, so financial services is like the thing South Africa does best. And this is where we are.
And digging deep into the Earth's core to mine gold and shit. There's three things South Africans do well, is dig deep into the Earth, financial law, and jungle/savannah warfare. Those are the three things South Africa excels at.
Yeah. Also, most recently, coming up with increasingly flimsy defenses in court. Like, we must lead the world in arb shit that lawyers say. Like, I'm thinking especially of the Darlene Porfis of the world. I mean, that dude fell from grace really fast. And I think that might be uniquely South African as well. I don't know. Like, we'll have to think about that one. Okay, so we've got... so anyway, yeah. Offshore your money. Please don't buy Bitcoin. Have you seen...
It hurts me to hear you say that, just so that you know.
So Bitcoin, if you've been watching the price lately, it fell to about $3,000 and then started a rally up to like 4,000 and now it's declining again. So I think, like, the kind of on the macro view, the support for the price, in as much as you can have support in a thoroughly wash traded market, is not there anymore. So I think for Christmas we might see like $1,000 Bitcoin, which will be the worst news ever. But yeah, if you have invested in Bitcoin, do seek professional counseling for your loss and your grief, because I know people who went the whole, like, they basically bought the top and they did the whole thing. They got like the ledger, the cold storage, the whole deal, and these coins are going to be worthless in like a year. So you have my sincere condolences to anyone who has.
It's basically the Star Citizen of currencies.
And the thing is that they might actually
and it hurts
pan
me
out to
that
be true.
Star Citizen bombed like that.
Dude, why are you hurting me so much? Dude, come on, we went over this again last week. Don't bring up all the bad shit at the end of the show. Come on. But if it is like the Star Citizen thing, that means that over the next 10 years, it might actually turn into something worth using. So there is that.
Again, I want Star Citizen to succeed. I want it to succeed. I want to be utterly proven, utterly and completely wrong. But right now, it's not doing that, and it hurts me that I'm right about it right now.
Well, it's like there's no good news anymore. Like, EA is just kind of sucking all the money they can out of people. And, Star Citizen was like the largest, most expensive, most extravagant crowd-funded indie hope of building like the most epic game, and it flopped. And it's still flopping. And it's just like, okay, so that leaves like indie games. Which incidentally, I've started thinking about New Year's resolutions. Because I have the time now, I'm really thinking about building some kind of game. Something simple that I can just kind of release for free.
And that was a segue to the Noscript Show game.
Oh, Christ, no, there is no...
Because
what would it even be?
We are sponsored by capitalism, so yeah.
Yes, yeah. Let me just quickly...
And now, a message from our sponsor.
So we are officially sponsored by capitalism. Christmas is actually the Yiddish word for capitalism, so that's the season we're in. And we
Sorry, fam.
So absolutely, rack up everything you can on those credit cards, because those of us who sell debt counseling services need more work in the next year.
Yes.
I was joking. Dude, for fuck's sakes. Outstanding credit on store cards reached 300 billion rand this year. I don't fucking know where we're going.
You have to be fucking kidding me.
TransUnion Consumer...
No, that cannot be true.
TransUnion Consumer Credit Index Report Q2 2018. Outstanding balance on credit and retail store cards eclipsed 300 billion in South Africa. That does not include cars, home loans, mortgages, etc. That's just retail and store credit. Dude, the only way that we have 2.2% economic growth in the last quarter is debt. That's the only way that we made that up. There is no way that that's real money. So, yeah, 300 billion. I've got the chart. It's depressing. And we're just going to see more of it. Takealot made was 100 million in sales in the first 3 hours of Black Friday, in the morning or something crazy like that. Yeah, we're definitely a consumer nation, despite the recession. We are recession-proof.
Fuck the recession, I'm still buying shit.
Yeah, it's I'll pay it off next year. And then next year comes, and the further economic contraction means that you lose your job, and then what? No, dude, it's a dire situation, and I'm coping with it by making jokes. But it is hard.
I thought that was our whole thing. We cope with shit by making jokes.
Lately I've tried to train things towards a more serious discussion, but that does happen from time to time, for sure. Okay, so just on the game thing, coming back to that. Because I figured it would be I know that they're difficult projects to build, you can't take them for granted, but I kind of want to build one. Even if it's just a basic or a simple one. So what do you think would make a good game, if you had to do it indie style?
Okay, so I'm going to bring out my fervent fucking RPG sort of Baldur's Gate to Icewind Dale era sort of bias.
Okay.
That sort of swords and sorcery sort of fucking RPG bias.
Yeah.
That's my dream game. I would cream my pants to work on an awesome fucking swords and sorcery RPG game like that. I would love that.
So okay, and in all honesty and complete sincerity, a lot of the very good RPGs over the last, for as long as I've been playing games, the really good ones, they come out of cultures that have heaven and hell, and they have the Greek pantheon of gods, like Kratos, the god of war, all that shit. Africa has far more of that stuff than Europe ever did. in terms of like a pantheon of actual African gods. And it's like there's a part of me that would love to see a game that explores that in some way, because there's far more of that.
Yeah, 100%.
So like I would absolutely, and again, not like, and this is the part that's difficult because I'm like a white South African, I'm the enemy, but like the traditional stuff, there's, dude, somebody on, I think it was like DeviantArt a while ago, some Nigerian artist did like a series of like 20 different images illustrating, like, I forgot the names already, that's how uncultured I am. But like the gods of rain and crops and herds and all that stuff. And I looked at that and I thought, there is so much story and culture here that you can absolutely build something to explore this. So if like RPG, for sure, I would want it to be local and like authentically African, because I think there's just way more stuff here than anywhere else. So, I mean, and the thing is, it's not so much like swords, but still, you get dangerous weapons in Africa, I'm sure. And
I come from a predominantly more archer, bow and arrow sort of related culture. But yeah, the thing about me is I'm either very pro sort of ancient swords and sorcery or super far in the future. Humans sitting on planets that we shouldn't be sitting on type.
Oh, but dude, there's the subgenre of science fiction. It's like Afrofuturism, where it's like that stuff brought forward. Dude, some of that shit is incredible. If that's the RP, yes, absolutely. Dude, like Africans in space, why not? Why not? I would love to actually work with something like that. So what do you think?
I think, yeah, you've just done a great plug for the Noscript Show book and game.
All right, so obviously this, I'm announcing this now, even though I just thought about it. No, I have been thinking about doing a game for a while, and the sort of stuff that I kind of want to do.
For the record, I'll be programming the combat system. If that's shitty, you can send your comments to me, like all your hate mail to me. Dear Odin, fuck you. Fuck you in your ear hole. I hope your mother stops loving you.
Yeah, and that would be like entry level, I think, on the hate mail. But no, like
I'll be like, oh, okay, that seems justified.
Yeah. So like I have worked on and off on like a hacking simulator because I love the complexity of like modern network security. I love complex systems, which is the problem because if you're building a game, you really want to go for simple systems. But I've got this hacking one that I pick up every now and then.
That's the one Vasti module I actually wish I paid more attention to, was network security and hacking. I was mostly just sitting on my phone browsing Reddit threads, but that's besides the fucking...
Seriously, any future university, this does not reflect on Odin's character. It was a boring class. No. But so hacking simulators, and then at one point an economic simulator. Like there's this very old game, Trevor Chan's Capitalism. He did 2 versions where you kind of build a multinational. And I also loved that because, as it turns out, I want to go into business for myself, and that game started teaching me some of the basics, like the importance of retail and location and investments and that kind of shit. So I would absolutely love to build a bigger one than that. But
like The Division taught me how to walk through New York.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know what an RPG about Africans set like 1,000 or 10,000 years in the future would teach us, but it would be really fun to play, I'm sure.
The thing about future sort of literature is that it inherently discusses certain things about what we hold dear as tenets of human society. Things like how our economy works, how our socioeconomics works. When you have things like matter replicators, when you have matter recombinators, nanomachines, when you, because essentially, remember, 100 years ago, natural causes of death meant, or 200 years ago, maybe even 300 years ago, you got a tooth abscess and it got infected and you died. That was natural causes. Effectively, what natural causes actually means, right now and has always meant, it means this is a biological fault your body developed. We do not have the technology to address it, so you will die. But once we reach the point where we have technology that can address that, we need to re-examine the concept of natural causes. And once we reach the point where we have things like matter recombinators, where you can take something as simple as this fucking cup of brandy I've been drinking all night and recombinate it into, let's say, I don't know, a little block of gold, because this is all atoms, then we need to re-examine how our economic system works. And that is a fucking scary examination we need to take.
Yeah, and also, like, there's all of that, but another one of my favorite pieces is that, you know, today we live in a culture where we do a whole bunch of things that 100 years from now will seem archaic. And I think one of them is like mass farming animals for meat. Like, that's one of the things that we're probably going to move away from. But writing like future-based sci-fi means you can contextualize the stuff today from somebody looking back from a superior culture, and that actually helps chart the way forward in some respect. And that's why I like sci-fi as a genre. It's not just about the gadgets and the spaceships. It's about how we as people evolve, and is there not maybe a better version of us? So anyway, like, any kind of game or any kind of creative thing I do, that's the kind of thing I'd like to explore, for sure. So yeah, we've gone a bit over time to make up for the fact that we don't have, I think, an episode next week, but we'll be back in the new year with our New Year's resolutions. I've already started drafting a few, and one of them is putting aside time for like a big, fat creative project. So that should definitely
hashtag Noscript Show project, guys. Seriously, hashtag Noscript Show project.
It's too long a hashtag. We'll have to come up with something else. I don't know.
Big things are coming, guys. Watch the space. Yeah.
Big things from small channels, right? That's
how we roll.
So yeah, I am. So Christmas. Just so that I say this on record. Again, as a reminder, I am working like through most of this Christmas. I still got a lot of work to do. Just in case you thought freelancing meant you could laze around, fuck no, it doesn't. You work far harder. Like, dude.
I can attest to this. He does work super hard.
It's like, and the thing is, every now and then I bump into people who are like, oh, you do freelancing, that's really cool. Man, I wish I didn't have a boss. It's like, dude, you don't understand. Freelancing means you are your boss, and you're a far tougher boss because you have to deliver to a much higher standard. And on top of that, like, people go, it's like, oh, you know, a buddy of mine quit and went freelancing. Like, he doubled his salary because he contracted out. And it's like, man, I wish I made that money. It's like, dude, you don't. Do you have any idea how much work it is? So I, having done this for a couple of months now, like I said, I'm working on a big post about it. It's tough. You have to kind of almost psychotically love doing work to actually, get the results you want. But my God, it's worth it. And even if you just like do a structured side hustle, that's already, start paying off some of that credit card debt, would absolutely be a good thing to do in the new year. So anyway, I'm going to give my New Year's resolution some thought. And I think our first episode for 2019 we'll discuss them, and we'll try and hold each other accountable. What do you think?
My resolution will be to be more Rick-like.
I will, dude. I will personally buy you a lab coat, and then you have to wear it for the show.
Yes.
I mean, I know we normally don't do like crazy costumes or anything, but we absolutely have to do a lab coat.
Costumes are dumb. Like, seasonal costumes are fucking dumb. People who do that shit.
I know. Yeah, I know. But, like,
bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. But
bullshit.
But I do think, like, if you want to live up to being the Rick, you absolutely have to kind of indicate that. So we'll get you like a nice lab coat.
And my other one would be surprising guest appearances on the show.
Oh, and we've spoken about that, and I still don't know who the hell would ever want to come on the show.
I've spoken to a couple of people on Twitter.
So actually, the best.
And I will discuss this.
Oh yeah, no. So the best way to do that, and this is also kind of like a plug, the way we actually record the show is we use Discord for the actual video chat. So the best way to be a guest on the show is to start by being in the Discord channel, because that's how we organize the group calls that we actually record.
And like,
so,
we're not even charging you money to be on our Discord server, because we're not fucking Belle Delphine, so we can't charge you money to look at our fucking like A-cup titties as we fucking prance around and shit. And
I don't do prancing, and I don't have titties. I got moobs. What's the word, man? Moobs. Nobody wants to see that shit, so nobody gets to see it. But we do post memes every now and then, and we do actually talk to people that talk to us first. So that's pretty cool.
True story. And we're not total assholes about it either. So
yeah, it's like, this isn't our stage persona. This is actually how we are, which I think surprises some people, I guess. But yeah, so
I guess shout out to Belleville Pete as well.
yes, dude. Again, like perpetual hero of the show. I love the fact that you watch the episodes and find something useful in them. For me, that's great, because it means that it's worth your time, and that's at the very least what these episodes should be about. It should be worth your time. So that to me is the highest compliment.
But I'll give you a visit.
Yeah, no, we'll do a Cape Town. We'll do like a Cape Town episode. We'll get you down here and show you that it's not just the Karua and the City Hall.
Exactly.
There's more of it than that.
Yeah.
All right, so I am out. Season's greetings and well wishes for 2018. Get wrecked. Be responsible.
Be well. Yeah, be well. It's been a difficult. Well, I'll say from my side, it's been a interesting and somewhat difficult year. I thank you people, and I thank my co-host Wogan, and lots of people on Twitter. And it's been a difficult but fun year. And yeah, season's greetings, guys.
Yeah.
Don't do anything I wouldn't do, which honestly isn't much.
Don't. Yeah, don't. That's actually a trap. Don't do it, guys. All right, peace out.